And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. A little bit of a longer break this time because there is an update on trades. So Memphis is sending David Roddy to the Suns for a pick swap as part of a three-way deal with Phoenix and Brooklyn. Shams tweeted this out 4 minutes ago. I think this is a great pickup for the Phoenix Suns. David Roddy has been a relatively efficient scorer. He doesn't really get that much minutes as of right now. I mean, he's gotten more minutes given how Ja Morant isn't in the lineup anymore. But I see this as a great pickup for the Phoenix Suns. He averages 8 points, shoots 40% from the field, and he will be a great catch-and-shoot option for this Phoenix Suns team to surround the big three with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. But with that trade talk out of the way, I'm still waiting for more updates on exactly what that three-team deal is going to have. I will also be uploading some shorts later on in the day that is going to update everybody on these trade talks. So be sure to check out our YouTube channel for those updates on GSMC Sports Network. You can find that on YouTube, and I'll also put a link in the description below so that way you guys can go ahead and subscribe. The battle in the West has been really, really tight. It's been really, really tight. Yesterday, the Clippers held the number one seed. Obviously, this was a very, very big deal for the media because at the beginning, when they traded for Harden a few months ago and they lost 6 straight games, immediately everybody assumed that this trade was just going to be a failure, and the media was very quick to doubt these Clippers. But over the last 40 games, the Clippers are 31-9. This is obviously amazing basketball that the Clippers are playing. They're very good. Harden has been great. He's been a great playmaker. He's shooting the highest he's ever shot from the three on this team. Kawhi Leonard is also having a great season. He's trying to make an argument for being in the MVP conversation. For like a 2-month span, he went on a stretch shooting 50-50-90 from the field, which is ridiculous. That is some ridiculous levels of efficiency. I personally don't think he will win MVP, and I personally don't think he should be in these MVP talks, given how stacked this Clippers team actually is and how many Hall of Famers this Clippers team actually has. With all of this in mind, last night, they ended up losing to the Pelicans, who are a 6-seeded team. So obviously, the Pelicans are a great team. Do I think that the Clippers should hit the panic button? No. The Pelicans have notoriously owned the Clippers for the last few years. The last 15 games that they played, they've been 11-4 against the Clippers, and it doesn't matter who's in the lineup or who's in the rotation. The Pelicans just somehow always manage to find a way to win and beat the Clippers. But them beating the Clippers moved the Clippers from the 1 seed all the way down to the 4th seed. And this just shows how competitive the Western Conference really is right now. Because the moving from the 1 seed all the way down to the 4th seed is such a big deal, given how when you're in the 1 seed, you play against teams that were in the play-in tournament, so teams that had an argument for not even making the playoffs at that point because of this new play-in tournament that they've introduced. So with that in mind, jumping from the 1 seed all the way down to the 4th seed really affects the Clippers' chances of making a deep run. And the Pelicans, they beat the best team in the West, and they're only the 6th seed. And it was a great team win. From the start of the game, the Pelicans came out strong. They were going on quick runs to get an early lead, and with that early lead, the Clippers just couldn't catch up, as well as some of the great defense that they played. Paul George was really bad in this game after having a strong Paul George was really bad. And after having a strong first half from James Harden, Harden went silent in the entire second half. So that is a big problem. I don't know why Harden decided to take a back seat in the second half. They really needed that scoring production, and that's what kept them afloat in the first half. Their defense was also a little bit suspect. I'm very surprised at how bad their paint defense was against Zion. And it just had me thinking, if they're having this much of a difficulty trying to guard Zion, imagine trying to guard Jokic. That just sounds like a really difficult task. And while it might not look like Zion had a great game on paper, he didn't produce much in the first half because his team was the one producing for him. Once his team stopped producing as well in the first half, then he started to get the ball a little bit more and started to put matters into his own hands and have a great game in the second half. And he straight up dogged them in the paint. They were like little boys, and he was just picking candy from them. The Pelicans didn't even play their best game either. So I think this conference has teams that could beat any team from the 1 seed all the way down to the 8th seed. Every team has a chance, and it's all up for grabs. It's completely different. It's a completely different story from the East, where I think now the only team that's really competing is the Boston Celtics. I have no faith in the Bucks right now and their coach. While I'm very, very excited and happy about the Knicks and their chances of making a deep playoff run, they are still the Knicks. So I try not to bring my hopes up too much in fear of disappointment, but they could definitely compete. I'm not saying that they can't compete. It's just they're the Knicks. So I'm very skeptical and I'm very scared. The Cavs are also very competitive, but I just don't think they have enough experience in the playoffs to beat the Boston Celtics, who have made it all the way to the finals and have constantly made it to the Western Conference Finals. But in the West, I can see the Clippers losing in the first round to the Pelicans. I can see them losing to Phoenix. I can see them losing to Denver. All of those teams. As well for the Timberwolves. I can see the Timberwolves losing to Denver, the Clippers, and the Suns. Same with OKC, and the same with Denver. Yesterday, for the first time ever, the top 4 teams in the Western Conference were 0 games apart from first place. So, obviously, now with the Clippers losing, it's now 3 teams that have the exact same record for first place: the Thunder, the Wolves, and the Nuggets. The Thunder is now holding the one in the 1 seed right now, so they retake the 1 seed after falling all the way down to like the 4th seed or the 3rd seed. But with how close these teams really are with each other, because again, they flip-flop like almost all the time, the difference between the 1 seed could be the difference between playing a play-in team and a legitimate playoff team. Obviously, if you're OKC or the Timberwolves, that is not ideal if you were to drop from the 1 all the way down to the 4th and playing a legitimate playoff team. That is absolutely not ideal, not something that they should try doing. The Wolves and the Thunder have recently, they've been losing some really important games, not really important games, but they've been losing, really bad games to a bunch of bad teams. And not only that, they don't necessarily have much playoff experience. I already lost faith in Oklahoma. So if they drop all the way down to the 4th seed, I could see them losing to the 5th seed easily, depending on the matchups, of course. Same with the Timberwolves. The playoffs are all about matchups. So you have to try to get the best team to match up with to give you the best chances of making it farther into the playoffs. And losing the 1 spot or the 2 spot, depending on where they end up towards the end of the season, because it's really, really close, could be the difference maker from a first-round exit or a deep playoff run. The Nuggets, they're the only team that's in the top 3 that I'm not necessarily worried about. They're the defending champions, so obviously it makes sense, but these guys, they can literally beat anyone. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go back-to-back. The Clippers, they need all the help they can get, however. Even though they held the 1 seed for a time, they still need all the help they can get because, once again, I've said it before. I've said it once. I'll say it again. I have to see it in the playoffs. Paul George cannot afford to play like how he played in the previous game in the playoffs. He absolutely cannot afford that. And I personally think that their best matchup going into the playoffs is actually against Phoenix, because they have enough offense to be able to keep up, while at the same time their defense is a little bit better than Phoenix. So they might be able to put a stop to Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant in some games. I don't expect them to do it in all the games, but in some games. Obviously, there's a possibility that the Suns come out on top, given how they beat the Clippers last year, but they didn't have Paul George last year. So that's something to look forward to and something to expect. Again, I feel like every team can beat every team in the Western Conference. I'm just going to look at my phone real quick and make sure I am not missing any other trades before I end the stream because we are running out of time with this segment. So just going to look. Just going to once again go ahead and check. The Brooklyn Nets finalizing a trade to send Royce O'Neal to the Phoenix Suns for salaries and 3 second-round picks. So that's another trade that just ended up happening. The Phoenix Suns really just seem like they're robbing the Brooklyn Nets, and they're just taking all of their players. They took KD from them, and now they're taking Royce O'Neal from them. Royce O'Neal, I'm not a really big fan of him. Me personally, not a big fan of Royce O'Neal. So I'm all right seeing him gone. I'm very grateful that we didn't end up trading Miles Bridges or any one of those pieces. But Royce O'Neal leaving, it's all right given what we've gotten from other trades, and now that we have an actual center rotation. I'm just going to go ahead and look at some of these stats from Royce. Yeah, 7 points, 38% from the field. Again, not a huge fan on him in his game, so I'm all right seeing him gone. But with that, and as of right now, no other trades have been made, so I'm going to end the stream. That is it for the 4th segment. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review in it. Really makes a difference, and we also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, I will be making a bunch of shorts, updating everybody and updating us on the rest of the trades that are going to be coming in within the next half hour, within the next half an hour, within the next hour and a half, all of that, up until 3 o'clock. So stay in tune for that. I am your host, Nelson. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and as always, take care.